Well, federal cabinet ministers are speaking on the second day of their retreat. Let's listen in live.
When thinking of what we've gone through the summer, for my part, I've traveled a lot the country, meeting with different workers and different industries, some affected by the tariffs, others also that are much more in sectors that are going through a lot of growth. And also I went 2 times to Europe, Sweden, Finland, and afterwards in Germany. And what our government is really focused right now is obviously on the economy. So we need to protect jobs and we need to create some at the same time. And we're doing that through 3 different ways. The first one obviously is defense, because we're increasing our investments in defense. And while we're doing that for our strong, brave Canadian men and women serving our armed forces, at the same time we're doing it to create jobs. And that's why we're working on a defense industrial strategy and want to be using procurement to be able to create jobs in our country. The other thing that we're working on is obviously to be closer to Europe and to closer to certain countries in Asia, because we know we're too dependent on the US when it comes to trade, and that is clearly a focus of what we're doing as a government. And finally, last thing is we need to make sure that we are working on major national projects. And to that regard, after you, my dear friend, Dominique.
So, merci, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. Hello, everyone. I hope you miss me as much as I've missed you over the summer. I'm so happy to see you here. For the Minister of Council's Planning Committee, to give you context, obviously, we've been discussing since yesterday economic issues, as we've heard. Mr. Léger, I think he spoke to you last night. In terms of opinion, public opinion in Canada trends, we've heard presentations by chief economists by the big banks, and today my colleague is talking about the economic context. He told you this morning, François Philippe, the main issue in our discussions, Melanie referred to big projects, national projects. We announced last week the nomination of a CEO, Ms. Farrell, for the Projects Bureau, which will be located in Calgary.
I think the economic focus of our conversations. We're preparing for a caucus retreat next week in Edmonton, and then, of course, the return of Parliament in 10 days. But all of our work is focused on economic questions and economic issues that are of the highest concern for Canadians. Monsieur Léger, a well-known public opinion researcher in Canada, yesterday gave us some insights into the context of Canadian public opinion on many of these issues. We heard from the economists and business leaders yesterday, one of the economists of one of the big major chartered banks this morning. So our work continues. I'm looking forward to the rest of the day, but the thing I'm looking forward to most, of course, is taking your questions. So avec ça, vous avez des questions pour Melanie?
With that, if you have questions for Melanie and I?
Minister Blanc, after your discussions in Washington with the Trump administration, as well as Mr. Sabia's discussions, is there any sign from the Trump administration that they're open to easing up tariffs that are hitting some Canadian sectors hard?
So that remains obviously a key focus of our efforts. The Prime Minister, I think, spoke to you yesterday. There are tariffs on certain highly important economically for Canada sectors: steel, aluminum, automobiles, softwood lumber. It's those sectoral tariffs where we are, in many cases, the most integrated of any trading partner with the United States, and they're causing enormous economic hardship to Canada. So that is the focus of my conversations with Secretary Lutnick last week. You heard that Mr. Sabia was meeting senior officials of the United States government yesterday, specifically to go into technical details of these sectors. All of this work, as the Prime Minister said, is in the hopes that we can come to a deal with the United States to bring some relief on those sectoral tariffs. As you know, the reciprocal or broad-based tariffs, Canada massively benefits from an exemption under the free trade agreement, but that's why the sectoral tariffs are so important. But that work continues, and we'll continue to stay on that work until we get to a better circumstance than we are standing here right now.
Can I just add to that? And so while my colleague is doing really important work, we are also making sure that we're supporting people that are working in these sectors. So we've done different things. When you think about steel, for example, it's been about protecting the market from dumping steel, from also making sure that we can buy more Canadian. So really being able to have our steel, our aluminum, our lumber in our infrastructure and within also procurement for the Canadian Armed Forces. And also we want to make sure as we're working on housing, that housing in Canada can be built with what is made in Canada. And what we're doing also is we're really working on supporting these sectors, and there's more news to come on that. But we're also looking on the other side of the ocean to make sure that we're creating closer ties with the Europeans and also with Asian countries, because Canada is a trading nation, and we need to be able to export our different products.
Mr. Joly, may I ask a question? You're talking about a defense industrial strategy, and when you as a minister look at ways that the government can invest resources, we heard the Prime Minister talking about how limited they're going to be in the next budget. Does it mean to say that for the government to be interested, any
We've been listening to federal cabinet ministers Melanie Joly and Dominic LeBlanc speaking to reporters on the second day of their retreat.